Welcome to Year of Connection, a year-long journey toward becoming whole self-connected. I'm your host, Pauline Shu. Who are you in relation to the rest of the world? We're going to look for the answer to that question in this episode. More specifically, we're going to look at where the boundaries of your comfort zone lie, and we'll discuss why it's important to push yourself beyond those lines. We are talking today about moving beyond your comfort zone and why doing so enhances our whole self-connectedness. But before we do that, we need to define what is a comfort zone. Merriam-Webster Online, a site that I love, does an excellent job of defining it, I think, as the level at which one functions with ease and familiarity. Think about that for a moment. The level at which one functions with ease and familiarity. And now ask yourself, when is the last time I felt uneasy or did something unfamiliar to me? Picture that moment in your mind, and then try to understand why you felt uncomfortable. What were you doing, and with whom were you doing it? Looking at incidents like these in our recent past can help us to shape a stronger picture of where the borders of our comfort zone currently lie. For example, if you were doing something physically challenging, you might define one of the boundaries of your comfort zone to be the actions you take with your body every day, with no variation in that routine. Or if you were with someone but participating in an activity that you were otherwise comfortable with, why did that someone make a difference to your comfort level? Were they a little bit chattier than you're used to? Perhaps they expressed different opinions from you. Understanding this will form a much more solid picture of the shape of your comfort zone. For many of us, we feel most comfortable when we are with others who look similar to us, who think similarly to us, and who carry out similar day-to-day tasks to us in a similar way. That's a lot of similarity, but it's most likely our strongest level of comfort, because the variance in human behavior, while expected, is not significant in situations like that. That feels easy and familiar. For some, that inherent human variance in behavior, no matter how small, actually needs to be removed entirely for us to feel at our most comfortable. And so the starting point of your comfort zone might be when you're all by yourself, curled up with a book that has a happy ending. But it is what I think of as the starting point, as the epicenter of comfort, and not the boundaries of your comfort zone. This is the place where we begin, where we have few or no worries, little or no discomfort. From there, we work outward. And perhaps not surprisingly, working outward, pushing our boundaries, almost always means interacting with a larger group of people, expanding our circle of connection. Leaving our comfort zone usually means doing something new or different. It's challenging to do something new or different, though, without coming across a person or group of people for whom that difference is their comfort zone. And when we encounter this distinct worldview, we are asked, most often quite subtly, to the point where we might not even realize, to shift our perspectives. We talked about the importance of perspective before, in episode 11. And in that episode, I was talking about how we can fall into the trap of whining and constant complaining when I said, without perspective, the pitfall is created by our own lack of comparison to life or livelihood-threatening problems. Steps outside of your comfort zone can lead to enhanced perspective, which in turn can lead to a more patient, less anxious way of life. When we let go of the influence of negativity, not saying we can't feel that way, just that we don't let our anger, jealousy, or dissatisfaction affect our outlook on life or our important relationships, we can more effectively grow and strengthen our connections. That's not saying that comfort zones aren't great to have. In fact, we need those boundaries to help us feel comfortable, yes, but also to feel safe. When we feel safe and free, we can use that strong base as a jumping off point to do great things. to do new things. The downside to staying always in our comfort zone can be that we actually put up walls around the borders of that zone in order to keep out things that will upset us in any small way. Hopefully it's obvious, but insular living is counterproductive to the idea of whole self connection. Walls, barriers, and inward-looking living is not connected living. So what are some ways that we can go outside our comfort zones? Before we start coming up with ideas, I want everyone to take a moment and look back at your life notes, focusing on your core values. Our core values and standards of behavior are the areas in which we need to push ourselves most, because they don't mean anything if we cannot uphold them when we are in situations that make us uncomfortable. In fact, if you look back and find that you are avoiding uncomfortable situations, or that your examples of discomfort stem from the fact that you didn't uphold your core values in those moments, now might be a good time to reset your approach. Your core values are critical to the way you connect. They're critical to living a full life because they define you at the deepest level. They are your anchor and your base. And giving those up as soon as the situation becomes uneasy or unfamiliar is a red flag telling you that you might need to go back and work on shoring up your supports around those core values before you do anything else. In a somewhat ironic twist, one way in which you can shore up those supports is to get outside your comfort zone. A word of caution that no one, whether they feel rooted in their core values or not, needs to start in a place where they feel overwhelmingly afraid or wary. None of us need to tax our emotional, mental, or physical resources to the limit on the first step outside the boundaries of our comfort zone. Moving outside of it can be as quiet and simple as reading a book with a story that is outside your lived experience. If you normally enjoy watching baseball over looking at paintings, go to an art exhibit for an hour or two and find the joy in doing so. In short, do something different that puts you in touch, whether in person or through observation alone, with a life you don't usually live, all the while taking care of your mental, emotional, and physical health. In the end, it boils down to the idea that understanding the other, no matter who that other is to you, often results in the understanding that we're all much more similar than different. Outside your comfort zone, connections grow with exponential grace. Keep in mind that we're not talking about using other people as an experiment to help you. We're talking about making new connections, whether to new people or new philosophies that might be long-lasting or at least significant because they're based on things you truly, deeply believe, your core values. We are talking not about playing around with discomfort, but rather truly growing as a person. When you have taken a step outside the borders of your comfort zone, you might even find that your perspective expands to the point where your boundaries grow, creating a larger, more inclusive space centered on your greater understanding of the world. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next week. In the meantime, I wish you safe travels.